Hello, welcome back to the PoddiMouths podcast. I am Peyton Cubic, and this is where my dad and his friend John talk about random stuff in life or the things they found on the internet. I hope you enjoy listening to this episode as much as I did. Here they are now.
And on that note,
are we done already?
We're done already.
That's how you always end. Everybody knows.
Okay, I'm just going to leave that one alone. I'm looking something up here because you'll appreciate this. And I can't share. I'm going to try to share my screen. I don't have two monitors right now. Well, I do, but my other computer is plugged into the other monitor. So hold on just a second.
Now we're all confused.
Let me see if I can share something because
you have something to share.
I have something to share. Google Chrome is requesting to bypass the system. Yes. Stupid Nuchtenpinchen.
It's nice that it's asking for permission.
It is nice that it's asking. Okay, so you're going to see some of the... Oh, hold on. I got to close a tab here.
You go ahead.
Can I? Yeah.
While you're doing that, I'll just explain. I'm at my brother's place, and we are hanging out here and having a nice time. So you'll hear some different, obviously different backdrop. And this isn't fake. You might think it's fake, but
you're not fake.
If I would break this window right now,
whoa,
that was cool. I don't know what you just
did. It's kind of cool,
but
yeah.
Okay,
but this is what I wanted to share. Do you see this right here?
Yes.
So this has a new app in it that allows you to do stuff like this.
And what is?
So you guys can't hear it, but it's actually. So what it did was it took a clip of one of our past episodes and it turned it into a cartoon with really big eyes. And it's really funny. The only reason I wanted to show it, because I was going to show you just separately because I didn't think it was that funny.
Yes.
But I want people who are watching to look at John, because it's obvious which one is which, and then look at me. And John, I'm not saying this. Yeah, I'm not saying this to be ugly, but you might be a little bit older than me, right?
Yes. So
just a little bit.
But in those pictures.
And you've got your mustache and I've got my beard. Your mustache on the video right now is probably about as white as my beard is.
Whatever.
Okay. So the interesting thing about that cartoon though is you had a full head of hair that was dark and a handlebar mustache that was dark, and it had me with a white, like a Santa Claus beard.
Yes.
And I thought that was just a bit on the ridiculous side.
See, here's the thing, though, in its defense, because obviously it's brilliant to know that I look younger, that I actually had to restart
that was hot.
The mustache because...
But did you really?
Well, I had a new trimmer, and I thought, I just want to trim it up a little bit, and I kind of went on, and I go, oh, no, it had the head without the shave part on it, and it just cut.
I've done that.
I had to cut the whole thing off.
Yeah,
start all over.
I have
again.
So done that.
Yeah.
I literally just bought one like 2 months ago, and it has an adjustable top,
right?
But I hadn't clicked it in correctly, and I didn't notice. So I had the setting on like 4, which is about the length of my beard right now. And I started going, and it just went. I'm like, oh, that's not right.
No.
I guess my beard's going to be a little extra short this week.
Oh my gosh, I know. And you do it, and you go, oh, what was I thinking? And there's, and I'm not gonna. Oh, how'd you get the big gouge out of your, whatever part of it is?
Yep.
And that's how I was an idiot.
Yeah.
So
We used to make fun of one of my former coworkers who has a prodigious beard.
Yes.
Not Mr. Fussell, a different prodigious beard.
He's got a prodigious beard.
He does. But he would shave every once in a while.
Yep.
And we'd all joke with him saying, how did your job interview go? Because that was before you could, just everyone pretty much has a beard. Sure. So it's kind of, you don't have to. I didn't shave my beard for my last job interview, which is the first time I've ever done that. And I still got the job. So, what the hell?
And I think they made a brilliant decision. So
I agree. I totally agree. I can't argue that point whatsoever. I can't even say anything fun about that point.
Then let's move along.
Anyway, that was the joke for so long, and then he finally, because we years we tease him every time he shaves it. And he's like, no, here's why I shave it. I got a little bit tipsy and I tried to trim my beard. And every single time I do that, there's a line in it and I have to, because same reason you just said, you got to gouge there. And he's like, I may have once or twice done it for a job interview, but that's not why I shaved my beard.
That's hilarious. Well, yeah, but guys like that, they go home at the end of the day and go, it just grows instantly.
Yeah.
The
exactly.
next day they come back to work and it's a full beard.
Yep. You are 100% accurate. There's a gentleman that I started watching on YouTube, and he was well known for having a beard. Like the show wasn't about the beard, but he came back once and he went from having a beard that went down to his belly button to a really nice tight beard, and everyone flipped out. But he actually was smart, because he actually filmed the whole process of him getting his beard cut. And it was a big ordeal, where he actually went from Florida, where he lives, to Texas, to the number one beard barbershop in the entire country. And that's where he had his beard done.
Well, and
it was interesting.
There's a guy that I think you follow, but I know I've mentioned him before too, is Beard Meets Food.
I know which one.
And he's a competitive eater, and it's fun watching him do stuff. But he's eating all this stuff, and he's wiping his beard off, because it's just everything gets caught in his beard
everywhere.
Gross. But whatever. But he's a great meal. Certainly does well with eating massive.
It's
meals.
A beautiful day. And the top is off my Jeep right now. And all I really want to do is go out in the sunshine and drive around in the Jeep. But now you're making me want to go watch YouTube.
No,
good job.
Don't do
that is a good marketer right there.
Either that, or you can put your iPad in your Jeep.
I actually don't have an iPad anymore. We have them in the house.
Gone to Android?
No. Nothing. We actually have a couple of those in the house too. No, this is going to sound horrible, but they're so old, all of the iPads, that they don't work for what I need them for.
They're not supported either.
They're not supported, exactly. But I can put Adobe's drawing apps on my last one.
Okay.
And because it has the Apple Pencil.
Yeah.
So Peyton is actually using that. It's her iPad now, and she draws on it.
That's awesome.
So I haven't invested in a new one, because I don't know, John. I think we've discussed this before. I have the computer I'm using right now for our podcast is a MacBook Pro.
Okay.
And I love my MacBook Pro. Always have loved all of my MacBook Pros. But the last time when I bought this MacBook Pro, I was actually kind of between the MacBook Pro and the iPad Pro.
Between a Mac and a hard place.
And yeah, exactly. It was Mac and a hard place, because at the time, and this was before I started using my computer for my last job.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I wasn't using my iPad Pro, or I'm sorry, my MacBook Pro for anything much more than the podcast.
Okay.
And so that was my last MacBook Pro. So I looked at both of them, but the biggest issue was you and I had just transitioned over to Riverside.
Yep.
Riverside.fm, folks. Yes. If you ever want to start a podcast, we highly recommend. There's actually a link in the description, and it'll help us out if you sign up for their premium service. Anyway, Riverside.fm at the time didn't have an app, and the browser, the Safari browser and the Chrome browser on the iPad wasn't supported. So I couldn't actually use it to record the podcast at the time. Yeah. So that's why I chose the MacBook Pro. And guys, an iPad Pro and a MacBook Pro, of course, the MacBook Pro, when I build it, is going to be much more expensive because I'm an asshole and don't have to do it. But if you took a base iPad Pro and a base MacBook Pro, it's going to be about the same price, similar price point, or at least it was back then. So anyway, that's why I chose the MacBook Pro. That said, now I'm in a place where my MacBook Pro, there's nothing wrong with it. It's still, I think it's only 3 years old, maybe 4 at this point. I don't remember. So it still runs beautifully and it's wonderful. It does everything I need it to do, but I don't use it for work anymore. So it really is, it just sits in my office most of the time and I use it for editing the podcast. But now Riverside FM does support everything on an iPad. So I could technically use the iPad. Oh, and take it another step. The iPad Pro, I couldn't edit on.
Oh.
I guess I could, but it would be very taxing. I can do that now. Excuse me. Now I don't even need, I edit in Premiere Pro. Don't really even need Premiere Pro because Riverside, this sounds like a commercial for Riverside FM, but Riverside FM does now have the ability to edit in the app. So I can edit and post right from the app if I really wanted to. I don't really want to yet, but it's just going to get better and better. So all that to say, I'm at a point where I'm now going, do I want to just transition over to an iPad Pro and maybe give the MacBook to Peyton, because she doesn't need a computer right now, but she will at some point.
She's saying yes to that.
Of course, if she were here, she'd probably be saying yes. And if she were here, I probably wouldn't be talking about it.
Mentioning it. Okay, so you were talking Jeep. I know you have more to talk about with the Jeep. And
so I thought of you today.
Oh, well.
While I was riding along. It's a beautiful day here in Nashville. It's a Saturday morning. It's roughly a little after 10 a.m. The farm stand where I get the CSA on Saturday opens at 9. So, it's one of the first, it's not the first thing I do in the morning, because the first thing is, because I'm up a lot earlier than I used to be. I spent a lot of time with Jen and Peyton, and this morning they have pictures for the studio today. So we were packing all of the food and stuff that my wife brings for all of the students while she's there. So that's what we spent the morning doing. But then after they left, I got in the Jeep with the top down and went to the CSA to the farm stand to get the CSA box. On my way back, and here's what why I was thinking about you. We have often talked about motorcyclists and how, we should watch out for motorcyclists. They're usually the safest people on the road. But
I've never said that.
Yeah, yes, you have. And anyway,
sure I have.
So there are quite a few safe motorcyclists out there.
Yes.
And then there are some assholes that give people on motorcycles a bad name. And I met one of them today. I met two of them today.
Met them, or they blew by?
No, I didn't meet them. So I'm again enjoying the top, enjoying the sun, enjoying the cool weather. It's only 66 degrees, and I'm tooling along. I'm not in a hurry, so I'm going the speed limit down a 2-lane road, and I'm on my way back from the farm stand. There's a little state park that's between there and home, and I'm driving down this road I'm actually doing the speed limit, and there's a car in front of me. It's a pretty wide gap, but not maybe 6-car gap between the car in front of me and my car. And this motorcyclist, this pair of motorcyclists start coming out of the drive for the park, and I'm out going 50 miles an hour. That's the speed limit there. And they're pulling out, and he thinks he can make it between me and the car in front of me. So he starts pulling out, and I slam him. I didn't squawk, but I slammed on my brakes. And my Jeep is pretty damn heavy, so it takes a minute. And I'm slowing down, and he decides he's not going. So he's sitting out in the intersection, and he tries to back it up. So I'm being nice. I slowed down. It doesn't bother me. It really didn't at this point. I wasn't like upset at him or anything. I'm like, you tried, you couldn't make it. I understand. It happens. We all do that. So he's backing up. I move into oncoming traffic on the other side of the road. Because they slowed down too, because they saw it. So I moved over and went around to give him plenty of room to back up so he didn't feel cramped. And then I just went on my merry way. Well, he gets in behind me and starts riding my ass, and he's on a Harley. So he's, I'm like, okay, I slammed on the brakes for you, went around you, I didn't give you the finger. I didn't even look at you. I gave you plenty of space, and you want to be an asshole. And I'm like, I'm literally, so, and then I speed up. So, it's 50 mile an hour zone. I'm going 59 because, I won't go over 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. Hopefully no cops are listening. And so but he's still on my ass the whole time. And I get to another intersection, and he yells, and I can hear him because the top's down. He's yelling to his friend, "Let's fucking take that fucking road instead."
Wow.
I'm like, what a dipshit. I'm like, I was surprised he was wearing a helmet, to be honest. That's how idiotic he was acting. Because I guess I wasn't going fast enough.
You
for
know,
it.
and sometimes it's the weekend people or whatever.
Yeah.
Yesterday, we were in the Jeep. And honestly, if you say you won't go 10 over, that's typically me too. But we were going with the flow of traffic, and it was at least 15 over. And but traffic was going at that rate too.
There's a difference there.
And
I
there
understand
was
that.
a closed express lane on the left of us. And all of a sudden I see this bike coming behind us. If he's doing, he was at least 90 and zipped over into the closed express lane and passed us. And then I'm like, dude, seriously? This is, and it was a sport bike. It wasn't a Harley. Not that, as you said, Harley drivers don't, have those issues. But it was just, I couldn't believe it. And then he continues on and does it around other people as well. I'm like, what the heck? But yeah, anyway, so he was in a mere minutes, he was a mile ahead of us.
Yeah.
I couldn't even, less than a minute. I couldn't believe it.
I'm just, why? These are the people that give motorcyclists.
Well, they do, but they're also, not always, but often the ones who, this guy probably not on the sport bike, but Harley riders, I know a lot of them that will go to one bar, have a couple of drinks, go to another one, have a couple of drinks. That's their whole MO. And and I don't want those guys to get hurt, but they're statistically a lot more likely to get hurt or get in an accident or get killed or whatever because of that, but also just bad decisions. And even just being aggressive, like somebody tailgating you. I did a video on Motorhead Chef Ding about why it's so stupid to tailgate. You're on a motorcycle. I don't care if you're tailgating it doesn't matter if it's a I don't know why this thing shut off on my ear, but it did.
I can still hear you.
It doesn't matter if you're tailgating a Prius. It's still dangerous on a bike. You at the most you're weighing in at 1,000 pounds on a big Harley like mine. It's not close to a Prius, so it just doesn't make sense. Take your time, relax, stop trying to be so aggressive.
Yeah, it was, and I minded, of course, but I didn't mind at the same time because I'm like, okay, fine. If I have to slam on my brakes, I'm not a Prius. You're not going over the top. You're going into the back end and you are gone.
Yep.
You are gone.
That's exactly right.
And I probably won't even have a scratch.
No.
I might have a blood stain, but not a scratch.
Maybe, but those wash right off.
They do, and it probably blends well with the mud. It's the only downside I have about having the top off the whole time is I got the Jeep muddy, and now I've got to put the top back on so I could go take it to the car wash and get it cleaned. Because it's not just a little mud on the side; it's like caked on the whole passenger side.
You're supposed to do with the Jeep,
Oh hell yeah! Jen enjoyed it a lot when I hit the mud puddle.
The only thing I don't like is, of course, off-road in Florida. When we take it, it's either water or gravel. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. And so the gravel stuff, it gets stuck in between the tire treads. I think I told you that. And I'm like trying to dig them out of there. And, it's ridiculous. Other than that, though.
So speaking of Jeeps and off-roading and not off-roading, you had a little road trip. And you and I talked about that after the podcast last week.
Excuse me. Yep.
But I'm curious because here, let me give a little context to people. I have taken large, probably bigger than even your road trip, much larger than your road trip, with my family in the Jeep all over the country. And I loved every minute of it. I was perfectly comfortable, but both of my girls were very much unhappy by the time we got home because I guess they weren't as comfortable as I was. So I made that comment to you. I said, I think you're going to love it, but how's Lisa going to take it?
She was great. And it was interesting that she said that after we were done, that it didn't bother her back at all. And she kind of anticipated it was going to. And so, coming back home, same thing. It's how I'm convinced that she's going to be great with it, and it really rode very well. I was kind of pleasantly surprised myself because we've talked about the old ones, especially the shorter wheelbase with the two doors.
Yeah.
Bouncy, bouncy, bouncy all the way.
I never had to worry about falling asleep on my long road trips in that thing.
Don't turn up the stereo. You don't need to. You just try to hold on for dear life.
Exactly.
Yeah, these not so much. It was very smooth and
good.
Yeah, and it was really comfortable for her.
I will add that I think where the uncomfortable factor came in is the fact that the Jeep was jammed full of camping gear. And Peyton had because it's a, what do they call it? A 70-30 split? Is that?
Yeah.
What's the seat?
Yeah, that's about right. It seems like 70-30 or yeah. It's 2/3,
something like that.
Ish.
Yeah, so she was in the small one. She wasn't in the big long one. So she was kind of crammed in the back. So that, and my seat sit higher because it's sitting on top of the battery. So we don't forget that.
Sure.
And then Jen had the seat moved all the way forward and had stuff wrapped around her feet. Mm. And that, 2,000 miles later, that's probably not the most comfortable. She didn't have to do that. I told her she didn't have to. She just was very stubborn and wanted.
What?
Yeah. Anyway.
That doesn't sound like Jen at all.
It doesn't sound like Jen at all. Sorry, honey.
You're welcome. We're on the same side, Jen. Don't worry. She knows.
And she always says that.
I know
too.
She does.
Anywho, well, I'm glad that you guys. She enjoyed the trip, and
cool.
I'm glad you made it safely. I'm
cool.
Still waiting for pictures. You were supposed to send me a bunch of pictures.
I will send you pictures. My goodness, you are just. My nephew got it was funny. He sent me I'll show you this. I think hope we can see it here. Just sent it to me this morning. He got a new truck, and it is not one I would necessarily buy, but it's a nice one. It's a Ram, and he parked it next to his Jeep.
Nice.
And so
the Jeep looks a lot like mine.
Yeah, it does actually. Yeah, it's not an E, but he said good combo, and I said sweet, it looks great, and then in parentheses, so does the Ram. And he was very happy with me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but they love their Jeep too.
Yeah. I had that's. Honestly, my choice in truck, that would be a Ram. Mm-hmm. I do, as much as I dislike Stellantis as a whole, I do like Ram and I do like Jeep. Period.
You know what? My nephew, his dad, my brother-in-law, swears by his and just loves it. I mean, a little too much, a little creepy love.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Gotcha.
And it's not in my favorites. I would say it would come after probably a Chevy and a Ford. And Ford didn't make me happy, as you know, with the last transmission problem.
Fix or repair daily, found on road dead. Fucked over, rebuilt Dodge.
Oh, nicely done.
Yep.
That's what Dodge people say, yeah. So anyway, it was a great truck, and I've had Chevys in the past, and I've never really been a huge fan. I think the last Dodge truck or Ram these days that I liked was the little red truck. It was the fastest production vehicle that year. I want to say 86 or something like that, 87, 0 to 60, and the 8-second range. And which is hard to believe that was the fastest production vehicle back in those days. In 83, I think it was the Buick T-Type, and it was like 8.1 seconds.
Wow.
Or the Grand.
That is crazy. And to put in perspective for anyone younger, which I don't think we have that many young people listening to the podcast, since we were talking about Jeeps, and Jeeps are well known for being bricks on wheels. They literally have no aerodynamics to them whatsoever. They're heavy, especially the four doors. A Jeep Wrangler 392.
Gosh.
0 to 60 in 4 seconds.
That's incredible. And it really is, when you think about it, that not that long ago, 20 X years ago, 30 years ago, 8 seconds was, woo, that was the thing.
Yeah.
And It's incredible. And it's also incredible. This is just the technology piece. I saw a new an EV. I can't remember which one it was, but it's like 0 to 60 in 1.8 seconds. And it's a super
That's crazy.
I just can't even fathom that. But you look at some of these cars and it's just incredible how fast they are. But the technology piece is just, it's all around us. There's so much stuff that we take for granted now that, 30 years ago, we go, what? That's crazy. So anyway,
it is.
These fast cars, you got to like it. Oh, and the old Corvettes, they were always so swoopy and everybody's going, oh, look at the Corvette.
They were sexy.
How aerodynamic and sexy it is.
Yeah.
They did a wind tunnel test on a 73 or in that range with the big, they said it was roughly the same as a big truck in the wind tunnel. They thought, oh, it looks cool, but it had so much bad aerodynamic design that, people assumed they were perfect, but they weren't.
Speaking of, and I'm not going to remember the names of anything that I saw, but I ran into this a YouTube channel, and it is Haggerty.
Yeah.
Haggerty Automotive. Yeah. That's the one that owns the channel, but this particular one was Barn Finds.
Okay.
And the host, who reminds me of so many people, I feel like I've met him. You take a little bit of you, a little bit of Bill, a little bit of some of our other friends from our past and our past organizations, and kind of blend them all together. You've got this guy. He went to, and it's outside of Birmingham, Alabama, a car museum down there. And I don't remember. I mean, it's massive. Like, they just added on in the last 2 years to double their over 20,000 square feet of space.
Really?
So, and they have the largest motorcycle collection in the entire world.
Wow. And
they also have the largest collection of Lotus race cars in the entire world.
Wow.
Yeah. And this place was impressive. And the whole thing was built to be a museum. It wasn't like this used to be a warehouse, let's put a museum in it. No, that was built specifically. And it's a 501c3.
Yeah.
And all that to say, I mean, it was just watching that video. I want to go badly. Like, I want to take a day trip down there just to see this museum because it was incredible. Like, there's a stack of motorcycles that goes up like 6 floors, and you take a glass elevator to go up and see them all. And it just slowly goes up.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And I can't remember the name right now.
Yeah, we'll put it in. Put it in the comments when you get it, if you can find it.
Well, I can find it when you start talking again, because you take so long.
Wow.
I will.
Wait, I need you to look right at the camera because you're enthralled when I start talking.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it was more of a sorry, not sorry moment there. Anyway, that's loud. I want to see that one. That's going to disappear once I go to my history. I hate it when you see something you want to watch, but then,
Yes, I know. Sadly, I know exactly what you're talking about. I was thinking of one that I've seen a lot of cars posted on YouTube lately, the Volo, VOLO Auto Museum. And I think that's in Illinois. I think it's Volo, Illinois, if I'm not mistaken.
Is that like YOLO?
It is like YOLO, except it's Volo.
Oh. Anyway, so I was watching it.
Yep.
And here it is. Barber Motorsports Museum.
Boats, is that museum?
Motorsports. Okay. Barber Motorsports Museum.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, it was very, very cool. And in there, they have a guy who retired from Ducati, a designer.
Okay.
And his whole job is to sit there and just 3D print different designs for motorcycles.
Wow.
And he was talking and actually showing something that they're not production view. They never become production. He's just there to teach young people how to 3D print their designs and test them before they go into production. And cool. he had a bike that was based on the Ducati design, and he was talking about the aerodynamics, and down to the point where he was talking about the diameter of the air intake from the beginning to the end, and how it turned the temperature from this to this, and then converted it into this and into pressure, brought it out, and then came out the back end, and how it actually swirled, all based on computer design. I'm like, that guy's way too smart. I don't, just does not compute with my brain. I mean, I can see it visually, but it's just not, I could never think that way.
Well, but it was incredible. It comes down to, at least I would imagine, especially air intake, when you say that specifically, it comes down to the size, the diameter, and then the parts per million that are allowed in based on, that. And so as you increase the size, it should be the same ratio, I would think.
Yeah, and they talked about radiators, and that in this particular design, the radiator had to be small because if it was too big, it actually would slow down the air, and it would make the motorcycle slower. That's a really
interesting point. Yep. Yeah, because there's that diminishing returns time based on the side. Yeah, cool. I like it.
It was interesting. So I would highly recommend it.
Yeah.
And the show was, as I said, barn finds on the Haggerty channel.
Wow. Don't you? I know you've seen some of those, and I have too, where they find these vehicles in barns, and they the first time it's been washed in 40 years, and they stole it for whatever. Where do you find these things? And is it just going knocking on doors? And,
that's interesting you say that, because the gentleman who hosts that barn find show, he's talking about that. One of the short ones that I saw, I think it was like 7 minutes long. He was pulling into Meridian, Mississippi.
Okay.
And he said, I pulled in here randomly. I'm just going to drive around. He's driving a Woody, by the way.
Okay.
Driving around. And he said, I'm just going to see if I can find a car and see how long it actually takes me to find a barn find. And he found one in 17 minutes.
Seriously?
Yeah. And it was an old Bronco.
Wow.
That the guy he bought it in 1985. It's been sitting for the last few years, and he's planning on restoring it. He just hasn't gotten around to it yet. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and those are out there.
Oh, yeah.
They are out there.
Yep.
Wow. Very, very cool, man. Well, that's awesome.
So that's my story.
Well, it's a good story. And
what's your story's better?
I don't have a story. My story is your story. That doesn't sound right.
That's deep. We should unpack that. But
no,
you know what?
Not.
I think we should wait until the very next episode.
Yes.
On the next episode of PoddiMouths, we'll be unpacking all that stuff.
That deep stuff we were just talking about.
That deep stuff. You need to go have brunch.
I do need to have brunch, and I will do that as soon as we are finished here. And we should wrap it up and give our nice viewers and listeners a break from our blathering.
Okay, right? Except we have a few new fans now.
I know. I'm excited about
our listeners, and they're going to be all disappointed. Like, why you have all these long episodes and you give us a short one?
You think
what? We're actually thinking about you.
Goodness.
Maybe, but really, John, if you put it into perspective, we're thinking about them.
Yeah,
we're saying this one's going to be a short one. This is your introduction to the PoddiMouths, because we have 6.5 years of content that you have to go through, and if we have a long episode now, how are you ever going to go back to the beginning and listen to every single episode moving forward?
A lot more thoughtful.
And for those new listeners, for those new listeners, I apologize for my potty mouth today. It's usually not. I get a little colorful, but today was exceptionally colorful, so I do apologize. Sorry, Mom.
Colorful, but not crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, it's always good
to get
to
the
see
Sorry Mom
reference.
reference. You'll have to listen back to a few of our old episodes. Mom's fine.
She knows what you're like.
By now she should.
Yes, she should.
Unlike her, fourth son, third son, fourth son,
sixth, I don't know,
fifth, sixth, seventh, something like that. All right, everyone, you have a fantastic rest of your week. We will be back here, same bat time, same bat channel, actually same potty time, same potty channel, better. And we'll catch you on the flip side.
Yeah.